Hi, everyone, and welcome again to Thursdays with Troy. Today, I'm really excited to have Meredith Bond with us. She's an award winning romance author. She's been both traditionally and self published. She's written over 30 books, including three works of nonfiction. After teaching writing and self publishing since 2005, both in person and online, she now owns and runs her own formatting and coaching business, Anessa Books. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she not only makes the words of her clients look beautiful on screen, on page, and on screen, but guides authors through the sometimes complicated process of writing and self-publishing. She blogs every Sunday morning on writing and publishing topics and hosts a podcast, which I love the title of, called The Writer's Block Party with Prue Warren. And we'll probably talk about that here in a minute too. So welcome, Meredith.
Thank you so much, Troy. It is such a pleasure to be with you.
So we were kind of talking beforehand, and we kind of want to reiterate that I used to be one of those that said the writer's block doesn't exist, that you have to get up and work every day if you want to do this for a living, just like any other job. You know, if you're a surgeon, you don't get to go in and say, I have surgeon's block. You have to just do the job. But when it's something creative, that can be a little bit different. And I've discovered since that for myself and for a lot of writers, that just isn't true. There are times when you have writer's block. So, how common is writer's block in your coaching business? How often do you run into people that are dealing with this?
I run into, the thing is that people come to me when they have writer's block. So I see it more often, but I do get a number of people getting in contact with me saying, I just cannot get down to work. I have all of these ideas in my head. They're driving me mad. And when I actually sit down at my computer, they're gone, just disappeared. What am I going to do? And I was like you. For so many years, I've been a writer for over 15 years, and I never had a day's problem. And I was like, it doesn't work. It does happen. And especially this year with COVID.
Yes. That is actually when I discovered it, was that I think there were a couple different kinds of writers. You tell me if your experience has been the same, but there were the kinds of writers like me who escaped into writing. That I said, okay, the world is a horrible place, so I'm escaping into writing. But I'm another one who's been writing for a long, long time. And so this is it's automatically my default therapy, right? But then I found that the world, what was going on in the world, and that intrusiveness of all that stuff that we were dealing with over the last year, just for some people, it really caused them to freeze, right?
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about some of the reasons that people have writer's block. Like, obviously, I think for a lot of people, it's not a lack of ideas, although sometimes you can get stuck in a chapter or something like that. But what are the other reasons that you see that people have writer's block?
A lot of times it's that somebody's trying to pants their way through their book. So they don't know where they're going, which is where Plottr comes in.
Yes, that is very true.
Because if you're a pantser, which I admire pantsers so much, I would love to be a pantser. I think it's the coolest concept to just be able to sit down in front of a blank screen and start typing and have a story. Boom, just like that. I can't do that. I am not that way. I am a plotter through and through from A to Z. But somebody who is a pantser, they will start writing. They'll get through like the first 25, 30, 50 pages, and then all of a sudden they don't know where they're going next. Mm-hmm. They don't know where the story is moving forward to. And they get trapped. Or their characters begin to act in a way that they aren't expecting, and they have to stop and think about it. And that's when they get sort of congested and they can't move forward because they don't know who their characters really are. And so a lot of the tools that I use are character worksheets, are programs like Plottr, where I will have somebody, I say, I understand you don't want to know what the end is. Fine. Don't know what the end is. Just put in the big bullet points, the big turning points. Just 4 points. That's it. That's all you need to know. You need to know the instigating event. You need to know the first major turning point that really launches that story and sets the protagonist moving on their journey. You need that climax, that point of no return where everything flips. And you need that black moment where all is lost.
Right.
You don't even need the end. Just know those 4 points, put them into your Plottr program, and just move your way through. And just knowing what they are will help somebody get moving. And I have some other tips as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's great stuff, because I think, and we'll get to some more tips, here in a couple minutes, but let's talk about also some of the other reasons, some of the external reasons for writer's block, because I think part of what you're talking about is the difference between big ideas and small ideas, but also the difference of which small idea is next, like what scene is next. It's not a matter of I lost the big idea of my book. It's a matter of what's next, and we'll talk about some tips for that. But what about some external reasons for writer's block? Perhaps mental things or things happening in your life. Let's talk about how that affects you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we have all been dealing with extraordinary circumstances these past year and a half, 2 years, where for writers, we're used to being at home. So that's not a big difference. The difference is that now our husband or spouse are there. Now our kids are there. And all of a sudden there are these people around us who shouldn't be there. Not only that, but if you're used to going out to like a coffee shop, to Starbucks, or to your local cafe to write, and a lot of writers really, they work very well with ambient noise all around them. And so they'll go to a cafe, they'll sit with a cup of coffee and their laptop, and they'll work fantastically. But you can't do that when you've got a lockdown. Again, these external things. And actually, Troy, I was a lot like you when COVID hit. I could not deal with it. And so my books were an escape from everything that was happening in the real world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think like I say, I think there were those two reactions for things. So let's get practical and talk about. We'll actually look at your Plottr file in a few minutes, because we're going to give some people some ideas from that. But let's talk about some other practical tips for if you're sitting down and you've got that, just you're stuck. You've written yourself into a corner. You're stuck. So let's go through specific. You talked about character sheets and stuff like that. Let's talk about some of those other things as well.
Oh, I can tell you my absolute favorite way of getting unstuck. I go for a walk. I get out and I don't even think about my story. I enjoy the people around me. I enjoy the architecture around me. I enjoy nature around me. And I don't think about anything else. And when I get back home, my mind is open and freer, because I've allowed myself some space to think.
And let your subconscious do that work for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I have a 95-pound German Shepherd, so he's rather insistent that I take those occasional breaks to go walk. It's kind of, I guess what we're saying is take a break, get away from your work.
Get away from it. Another way that I like to get through a tough patch, and I do it actually almost every single day, is free writing.
Yes.
So I start my day by journaling, and I will just journal about whatever is at the top of my head. And sometimes what's at the top of my head is my story. And so what I can and frequently will do is I will tell myself the story. I will, in expository writing, I will write out what is going to happen in that scene. And frequently, before I know it, I'm actually writing dialogue and description.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Sort of trick myself into actually writing.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's a great thing. This is a great use for journaling. I have a friend of mine that is really into this, and we talk about the 3 pages every morning. Write a minimum of 3 pages handwritten in your journal before you start anything else. And you'll find out that the rest of your day is more efficient. You
Yeah.
actually have more time. It sounds counterintuitive to take that time when you first wake up before your conscious mind kicks in and tells you all the things you need to do and do that writing. But that is fantastic advice. Is just some free writing. Just let your brain go and let it do what it does best. Your muse will show up for you. That's fantastic. Other
And
tips that you have.
right, but there are some people who are not so visually oriented. They don't learn. If you think about the way you learned in school, there are some people who are just more auditory. And for them, talking about something helps.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I would go for a walk in my neighborhood where I used to live, and I would hold my phone up and I would talk into it and record myself talking about my story. It's exactly the same thing as writing it, but it's just talking.
Right. That is also another fantastic idea. Just anything, really anything that gets your brain back into the writing mode. Um,
Right.
so let's talk a little bit about sometimes when you have external circumstances, those type of things. How do you break out of that psychological thing of I just can't sit down to write?
The thing that really, really you need to do is you need to acknowledge, first of all, that sometimes you need to take a break because sometimes there are just more important things, your health, the health
Hmm.
of your family,
Yeah.
and those absolutely, those come first. And so you deal with that, and then you will have the mental space to get back to your writing. The other thing that you can do, and frequently, I mean, it really helps, is honestly have your calendar and put into your calendar your schedule, your writing
Mhm.
time. So actually schedule in writing time. Yes, I need to take, Margaret to ballet class at this time, and then I've got 2 hours, and then okay, there's 2 hours there writing.
Mhm.
Or you're sitting up outside of ballet class. What are you going to do? You can write.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but actually fitting it into your schedule, actually scheduling it in, writing it into your calendar, that helps too.
Yeah, making an appointment that's just like any other appointment, only it's an appointment with yourself that you're going to keep for writing. And I do this a
Exactly.
lot. I do a lot of time blocking because it's easy to get distracted when you do this for a living. There's lots of other things that we do, so it's easy to get distracted. And it's just as easy to miss writing. People like you write full time, and I'm like, yeah, sort of. Sort of. There's other things we have to do, right? So
Right.
let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about deadlines and setting yourself deadlines. And with that, we're in just a moment, we're going to take a look at your Plottr. But talk to us about setting your own deadlines, even if you're not traditionally published and you've just got your own deadlines for your books. Talk to us about how that works for you.
For me, I do set myself hard and fast deadlines. I know approximately how long it takes me to write a book. And the best way to keep me to my deadline is to schedule my editor. My
Yes.
editor is an extremely busy person. And if I schedule her 2 months in advance, she loves it. She is the happiest person because she knows exactly what she's going to be doing. And I don't have to worry whether she's going to be free or not by the time I finish my book. So I
Hmm.
schedule her and I say, okay, I'm going to be done on this date. I have to have, in order to send it to my editor on date X, I need to have it finished 2 weeks before that so that I can do my own run through because I'll do my own editing and read it out loud before I send it off to my editor for a professional job. And so I know exactly when I need to have my book done. And I stress and I work hard and I make sure that I get it done. And so what I've been doing is I've been really tracking my word count closely. And I make sure that every day I have a goal. Every day I try and get to 2,000 words. And if I can get to 2,000 words a day, I am golden. I will get that book done in time.
And any more is a bonus. All
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
Well, we're going to look at your Plottr file because we're going to look at two things that I'm very excited about. The first one is, so tell us, you've got a date due and a done little timeline here. So tell us about that. Because this looks like, well, tell us about this book because it looks like something you're going to release for Christmas.
So yeah, this is a Christmas novella in my Regency Royal Hearts series. I have along the top there, I have my heroine's point of view, my heroine's character arc, and then my hero's line. And then, yes, I have a do and done. And what I want to do and what I try to do is to plot out exactly which days I will be working on which scenes. And the dates you see there are when those scenes were finished. If you see 2 dates in the box, it's because it took me 2 days to get through all the scenes. Because as you see, sometimes I have a number of scenes in one day of the book.
Right.
So it might take me 2 days to write all of those scenes.
That is a really great system. And it is really great to have your due date and then you're done. So you're taking care of both of those things. That is absolutely fabulous. Now, this is what I'm really excited about. And I hope you guys are excited about this as I am. So we're going to click into one of your scenes. And of course, when we click in there, we don't see much of a description until I click over to the attributes. So tell me about this thing that's down at the bottom in your attributes.
Well, my attributes, I'll just quickly go through. I always like to know the author's purpose, my purpose of having a scene. And so it helps me in my writing where I know what I'm doing and why. And then, of course, I have my character's goal, a major turning point within the scene and the conflict of the scene. And sometimes I'll throw in some character development notes on how the character is either moving towards or away from their ultimate goal or development. But then, yes, those last 2 lines in there, I put in my word count, how many words the scene ended up being once it was written, and then my total word count for the book at that point. And I have those in there because, as I say, right now, I am struggling to get many, many more words into my book than I normally write. And so this helps me keep track of that.
Having to add more story and more description. But okay, so we're going to look, let's open up another scene because I want to see people how this develops along the way. Because of course that was the first scene. So, you know, the 2 counts were equal, but you can see here, obviously your scene count is 1215 for this scene. And then we have your total word count for this one as well. So you add those as you go along.
Yes.
Do you add anything else to that, like how much you have left to go, or do you just have a mental idea of this is how much I need for the whole book, so that this is a good place to start?
For that, I do just have that mental knowledge but I know that this morning I was writing and I was up to 18,000 words. Yes, I'm at 18,000 words. I just wrote the climax. Because it's a romance that's where the hero and the heroine kiss, and it was all lovey-dovey and gooey and disgusting. And so that's the climax of the book at 18,000 words. It has to be a total of 30,000 words for a novella. And so I am well on my way to reaching that goal. I wrote my scene this morning. I put in my word count. I was like 1,400 words for the scene that I wrote. And then my total word count, I just got off of the bottom of my Microsoft Word document, 18,000 some words, and plopped that in there.
Cool, because you write in Word. So yeah, we'll look at these. Yeah. And so obviously at this point, when you sent this to me, you were around 14,000 words, which is great. All right, that is fantastic. And so you write in Word. That's just how you keep track of your word count. Of course, if you write in Scrivener or something else, there's all kinds of tools to keep track of your word count. and enter it into this perhaps every day or however it is that you want to do this. But I think this is a really unique way, is using your attributes actually for not only what you want to see in the scene, but your word count as well. So that kind of keeps you on track.
Exactly.
So coming back to our normal selves now that we've gotten all that excitement, I just love that idea of using attributes that way. I got really excited about that when I first saw it. So let's come back to any other tips that you have for people, specific tips you have for people about just overcoming writer's block and kind of keeping yourself in the writing habit so that you just don't ever break away from it.
Honestly, it is being with other writers. And so this Facebook group, for example, is a great way for people to share information. And nobody looks at you funny if you happen to ask, so what poison do you think I should use to kill off this person? Nobody thinks that's strange. I mean, writers are fantastic people that way. And we understand each other. And so having a social group like this Facebook group, and there are many, many more Facebook groups. You can be genre specific, you can be location specific to where you live, because writers understand writers and we support each other. It also helps with the accountability. Having either an accountability partner or working with a coach like me, where, I mean, you should ask my children, I am a nag. I am a wonderful nag. And I have had clients who said, would you please email me every single day? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I can do that. So having somebody there to bounce ideas off of, to exchange word counts, to sprint with, if you like writing sprints, all of that, it's great.
Yeah, that sense of community, that is a fantastic thing, because obviously here at Plottr, we like to build a community, obviously around a similar software that we use, but also, I mean, there's people in the group in your genre. There's people in the group that are struggling with the same things that you're struggling with, and you can always reach out. I've had people from my critique group go, can you text me every day and make sure that I'm writing? I'm like, oh yeah, are you sure you want me to do that? Because I can be annoying. So, but that's good to have those people. And whether you find that in a coach and somebody that you pay to walk alongside you and help you through the entire writing process, or through your friend that's in the same genre and you support each other, just making sure you're not too easy on each other. But those are great ways to stay out of this writer's block thing and keep engaged in the habit. I always tell people, you don't have to write every day, but if you do, I almost guarantee that it'll change your life. So before we go, first of all, tell us a little bit about your coaching business. Tell us about that, and tell us about your podcast.
Okay. First, the coaching business. The coaching business grew up out of actually people coming and me noticing people saying, hey, I'm having all of these problems getting to work, getting writing, with accountability. And I was like, I can totally do that. I have been writing for so long and I've been teaching writing for so long that it was just a natural progression for me to move into coaching and editing. And so, yes, I have my formatting company and my coaching company. It's called Anessa Books. And you can find it on the internet either through anessabooks.com or through my website, meredithbond.com. And my podcast is just, we have so much fun. Prue Warren is a blast. She is the funniest person. She writes rom-com and she's new to fiction writing. And I've been talking with her and, sort of mentoring her. And then I was like, we should just do this live. We should just record this. And so that's what we do. We just record our conversations, and it's just a back and forth like you and I are having right now, where we will explore topics. When Prue was putting together just finishing up her book, we explored topics of deep POV and the hero's journey and whatever problems she was running into, we would discuss that topic on the podcast. when she started to get into the publishing end of things, I walked her and our listeners through how to publish a book. And together we published her book, she published her book, and we just have been going. And every now and then we have guests who talk about their experience, and we love talking process.
Anyway, so that does kind of answer what I was gonna ask you next, which is like basically where people can find you online, all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for help, again, we've got a great community here at Plottr, but there's also other great communities all over the place. I'm a part of a couple of mystery writers groups where you could really ask some in-depth questions from retired police officers and stuff. I won't tell you what those are. You can find the groups and ask them for yourself, because sometimes things get a little bit crazy in there, but it's okay. We're all writers. We're all in this together. So I want to thank you for this. Last thing is your number one tip for avoiding writer's block. If you could tell people only one thing, what would it be?
Free write.
Free write.
That's my number one tip. Free writing. It does it. It doesn't matter what you write. You can write out your grocery list. Just get pen to paper. Start letting your mind open to possibilities.
Fantastic. Well, it was fabulous to have you. It was fantastic to interview you. Now I'm going to go catch up on your podcast. And with that, thanks everyone for joining us for Thursdays with Troy. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.